Week one is a thing of the past, and it's time for week two of Super Rugby. It's been a fantastic week, especially if you called it right, like two of the gents on our show today on Super Brew, and you made up some ma- made up some ground. But welcome to week two of the show. We've got our normal panel here for our two people with input from New Zealand. So we'll see how things went there with week one. Great filled up stadium, but welcome to Use It or Lose It, brought to you by Good for the Game. Let's give bragging rights straight away. Steve Cornflake, welcome to the show. And I think it might have been a bit of blind confidence, but it looked like you saw it clearly enough.
I think everyone calls every single Highlanders pick of the blind confidence, don't they? You got to have a bit of their old ticker and ahead of the brain to pick them sometimes. But hey, when you broke that game down, there was a lot of areas that it could be decisive in that sort of matchup, and a couple of key performers in certain areas and things that you just don't know until the game actually happens how it's really going to go. We knew it was always going to be close, but it takes a bit of ticker to pick them. But I think it took a lot more ticker for those guys to actually back that up the way they did, the way that twisted and turned at the end of that game for the Highlanders. That was some top shelf heart from those boys. So, I'll take it. I picked them by 2, and I'll take by 1. So that was a brilliant start for me. Super Brew, I picked up this glorious thing for the first time in I don't know how long. So I'm stoked, and then I can come on here and brag a little bit more. It's not often you get one over Paul. So, I'm all for it every week. Bring it on.
Sean, another man who called it right. I was a little bit surprised there on the Super Brew pick. If you are in a few comps, you're sitting pretty. Well done there. And how good is it having Super Rugby back? Firstly, and secondly, where the Islanders go right.
Yeah, thanks very much, Paul. That's a Buffalo again. It's great starting the show off like this second week in a row. Makes me kind of happy.
I've got mirrored camera. You can't tell.
That wasn't your excuse last week, and you took it. Precedent's been set. It was quite interesting. It's another Buffalo. The another one. It was a tight game. Obviously, went down to the wire, and let's be honest. To get 2 drop kicks to finish off the game, where basically they were both winners. You didn't expect the Highlanders to come back and snap it so quickly. So, good game. Massive battle up front and pretty tight. If you look all right, if you look at the stats, I've been sort of diving into the mostly looking at the loosies and the locks in terms of their ruck attendance on attack and defense. And there were big numbers from all of them, which is expected, from both sides, because it was such a hotly contested game. And there was so much happening with the way the laws were being dealt with, and guys trying to get used to it. And I thought it was handled pretty well, and it's kind of sorted itself out and on Sunday. But yeah, interesting, good start.
Sean, just while we're on that game specifically, to me, a lot has been made of Luke Jacobson and Lachlan Boshier, and obviously Gus had a pretty good game. But to me, they were overshadowed a bit, and that was a bit of a surprise to me and disappointing. How did you see that go? Do you think it was a pretty even battle, or were you surprised to see how things developed, especially in terms of the loose trio?
Yeah, I agree. I think Gus at 8 was a beast. He really sort of held it together, but a lot with ball carrying and stuff like that, and the other guys were just basically sort of cleaning up the scraps, sorting out a few other things. But yeah, there were a number of it was a tight game, but it was really tough. When I was looking at picking a team of the week, there was no one out of those 2 sides that really said, I'm definitely going to be in the team of the week, regardless of what happens in the Sunday game. And I think Damian McKenzie was probably the only one that we really spoke about, and Gus at 8. Those were the only 2. So it was quite weird how things sort of managed and went about. And ironically, McKenzie had a different game to his usual sort of style, but he was flipping impressive and he linked really well. But from the loose trio, I agree with what you're saying. They didn't seem to really pick up as altogether, or sorry, individually, but altogether they did okay. And obviously, Peter Gus smashing it at 8. So.
Definitely. Paul, your thoughts there on the first game of the weekend? Obviously not quite what we expected, and where do you think the Highlanders got it right on the weekend?
Oh, I think it was very much an early season game. Lots of mistakes by both teams, and yeah, I mean, lots of whistles. We had like 5 penalties in 8 minutes at one point. So clearly, yeah, it was. There was they were settling down with those new laws. Refereeing, I thought, was good, by the way. I'm not saying that he blew too much. He blew perfectly. The problem was the players just need to abide by the laws. Essentially, it was great to see those laws being done. I think, as Stephen said in our review show last Sunday, he mentioned that, look, you could tell what every offence was. You knew why he was blowing, which was good. It was nice and clear for people, so that was good. It basically came down to the fact that the Chiefs couldn't handle restarts. I mean, the Highlanders weren't great with them either, but the number of times that the teams just couldn't exit from their restarts, they couldn't exit from their restart. They turned it over and gave Gatland an opportunity for a drop goal to win it. Yeah, early season errors by both teams. So I think they both got a lot to improve on.
Yeah, well, I must say the big thing is, we always say that with the basics, though. I mean, the Highlanders kicked for the corner twice, and they made it pay by getting the maximum. So I think that was crucial as well. But it just makes such a difference having a pack of forwards that you can go to and rely on. And I mean, the line out work of the Chiefs was absolutely nightmarish. I mean, that was pathetic. So no, that wasn't great. Steve, you think going forward, was it just a once-off, or you got some much needed confidence now for the Islanders looking ahead?
Oh, a victory is much needed confidence no matter what form it comes, isn't it? So that is always a great way to start your season. I think as much as the Highlanders won that game, the Chiefs lost it in the same regard. I couldn't agree more with you. Their line-out was just shambolical. They didn't get that ascendancy in that area, that back row, like you guys have talked about already, that we kind of thought if they could, they would decide that match themselves there. The Highlanders pack matched up in all those areas, and especially the set piece, I thought they were really, really good. It's hard because we don't know how the Crusaders are going to get along with all these new changes. We're kind of seeing the Blues adapted probably the best out of the 4 teams, as we'll probably talk about soon. The Chiefs at the moment probably look like the slowest team to really get going, and the Hurricanes probably aren't too far behind them either. So it's a good start. Like Paul says, there's a lot to work on. There's a lot for both those sides to work on. But for the Highlanders, I think confidence is key. Knowing what they can get out of their players and guys that are going to stand up and be key for them is going to be massive. And reliance on that set piece is huge. If they can keep that up all season long, rely on their scrum, rely on their line out, that will give confidence to the guys to kick for the corners, and knowing that they can compete in those areas and they won't miss out on any errors by their opposition if they can win their scrum and things like that as well. So plenty of positives. But when you look at the other teams, there's also plenty to work on, because I don't think they're anywhere near the top of the bin, but we'll see how it goes on week by week. But certainly, you couldn't ask for a better start. 1 point, 100 points, doesn't matter. The W is all that matters.
Paul, talking about top of the bin there, let's go straight to the Blues. I thought they looked probably the sharpest of the whole lot. But just in terms of your views, how much was it poor Hurricanes and how much quality Blues?
I think, look, the Hurricanes weren't at the races really, but the Blues, as soon as they cut out their penalties in that because penalties really is what was killing them in that first half, even though they did lead at half time. As soon as they got the discipline sorted out, the Canes just had no way of getting down the pitch. So really good defence by the Blues, and yeah, as soon as they stopped giving away penalties, they just dominated territory. Kicked over your threes, stretched the lead out, and let the scoreboard do all the rest. So clearly nice, not necessarily old style, but nice thinking rugby, rather than just being purely kind of let's try, go for the corners all the time. They let the scoreboard do a lot of the work for them.
I don't know if I said it last week or whether I said it on our WhatsApp group or something, but smart and the Blues is not always something you'd put together there. But Sean, for you, the Blues, did they show that everyone's been hyping them up, that they're worth the hype, or do you think it's just going to be another one of those seasons where they show some promise, but you'll still get those incredible lows as well?
Yeah, I think like opening game, I think they needed to make a statement, and one thing about the Blues is early on in the season is they do cherry pick a few games and they're trying to work really hard to it. So this I'm keeping an eye on you. So this is quite important to see how things roll out this week coming. But I think I agree. Like in terms of like minimizing their errors was important, but then where the Canes really just fell apart, like at line-out time, and they lost some key line-outs and they lost some key possession, and where like that gets the Blues their tails up, and then they just managed to work together and sort everything out. I thought Aotearoa Black was incredible. Like his stats if you look at his stats, they don't wow you, but he was exactly what they needed and how they needed it. And he just let everything happen nicely. Beauden Barrett was doing a lot of kicks in play out of hand and just managing that space and running. But there was always that danger. And I think a lot of people try to keep their eye on Rieko Ioane and Beauden Barrett, and they forgot that Aotearoa Black's very handy. And we all ummed and ahed about it, and we were like, what's going on? And everyone kind of wrote him off because Dan Carter's there. And he just put his hand up, and he was flipping impressive. And I think that was really good. I do still have a little bit of a concern about Rieko Ioane at 13, but I mean, we can chat about that when we preview the next game.
No, 100%. I think I was pretty much leading the charge there with saying they're crazy playing Aotearoa at 10. I mean, you still had Dan Carter in the squad and Beauden Barrett, and none of the other two are getting the starting berth, and he was superb. And I think it also comes a little bit from the fact that Beauden is their best 15 option. I don't think their backup is as good that they can bring in there, so they almost got their most lethal combination by playing those guys that they do. Cornflake, there for you. Same question. Basically, do you think this is just the Hurricanes have a chance of beating you guys for last spot, and that was just an expected result for the Blues, or do you think the Blues are actual title contenders here?
Well, I think the most amazing word that's been used in this whole thing has been smart, which is, like you say, not saying associated with the Blues, but smart in the way that they adapted their game so well. And you could clearly tell from the first half to the second half that they learnt what happened in that first half. So often you see with the Blues, something's not working in the first half and they just keep doing it in the second half. They can't get over the game in a certain way. They don't have a plan B. They don't have a smart player or a smart leader in that team to direct them in a new way to go. So that's really the most promising thing for them. So now that they've got that, they have a bit of a leg up because, like I said about the Highlanders there, the Chiefs of the Highlanders didn't really kind of get into the full flow of the new changes. The Blues, I think, out of all the four sides we saw, did. So they've definitely got that advantage there. And they showed just how quickly these changes can actually change a game, because when you bang, bang, bang those threes, you're going 3, 6, 9, 12. Hello, the lead's out to 20. The game changes in a flash. And if you're going to keep popping away those penalties and giving away those chances and thinking, it's just three, you're going to very quickly lose out on that game. And that's kind of what happened to the Hurricanes when they couldn't get themselves into that second half, and they just pretty much drowned themselves in penalties and gave it all away. So for the Blues, a lot of promising signs, and I think out of all the four sides we saw on the opening weekend, they've got the most to be happy about, certainly not only being top of the table, but the way they played and what they learnt from that weekend has certainly got to be the biggest positive for them.
Now, maybe before we go to previewing the round 2 games, let's just, you guys have all pretty much touched on it. The new laws, what you take away, was it a bit more scrappy? Was it less entertaining week 1? Do you expect more week 2? Just a summary of what you guys think of the laws as it stands after week 1. Paul, maybe you have a go.
Yeah, I'm all for them. Absolutely. It's if basically you've got, we're not seeing these guys crawling around and rolling and other bodies flying in left, right, and centre. It's like, look, you get down. If you're a tackler, get out the way or we're going to blow it. If you're the ball carrier, just fall on the ground and let go of the ball. Just keep it nice and simple so that people understand what's going on. If your clearers are there, you're going to be okay. If your clearers aren't there, you're in trouble. It's just nice and simple. Everyone knows where they are. It's not kind of like, okay, look, we've got 5 people piling in off their feet because the guy on the ground has held onto it and rolled for 3 seconds. And so by the time everyone's there, and it just gets messy. It just cleaned everything up, I felt. And yes, it got a bit blowy early on in the first game, but the players have just got to adapt, and they will do.
I must say, I was surprised at the amount of penalties in terms of the ball carrying. I think that's probably something I missed, and maybe you miss how much or how often it does happen in a game where they hold on a little bit longer or take that extra role. So that was something that surprised me. And I thought the focus is almost going to be more on rewarding the attacking team, where I thought there was quite a lot of penalties against the carrier, which was a bit strange. Steve, your take there after the first week?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with what Paul said there. He's pretty much nailed what I was thinking about the same ways they go. It was clear to see. It was obvious. Like we spoke about, like Paul said at the start there, when we talked about the review of the round, you knew what the penalty was for. Maybe the guys at the ground didn't get that same advantage. But from the TV angles, you could see if the guy got lifted in the ruck. You could see if he was continually moving. There wasn't so many bodies just like smashing everywhere. And you wouldn't know who the ball carrier was. The case was there were so many guys there creaming in there. So I was good in that, but the referee nailed it. I think he was fair on both sides in both games. It was consistent. If one guy was getting pinged for, continue rolling or something like that, they were both getting pinged for it, which I thought was good. And I didn't really give you reason to complain. I think anyone can complain about it because it was the same set of rules for both teams. So that was always a good positive for it. But yeah, good, clean, made the game, I think, a bit faster because I think we're going to be rewarded as the game kind of gets used to these rules. Like Paul said again, you've got to get that ball straight out, planted there. And you've seen if teams weren't getting their cleaners there to secure that ball, they were piling in over, getting over it, turning it over. The ball was either get thrown out or they're getting penalised. So it's kind of encouraging the play to be a bit faster or you to have better guys there following a ball carrier and cleaning it up. So I think we're going to see a real focus on speed to the breakdowns, a real focus on the halfback or the scrum half getting to the breakdowns way faster than before because quick ball like that, if you've got a guy sitting there planting it, bang, and get it out before more than one or two players has got to the breakdown. So it should hopefully promote in the coming weeks a faster, better game as well. So, yeah, all in all, positive for me. Refs are great. And I didn't find the penalties too excessive, to be completely honest with you. I kind of, because I think you could see what it was, you can understand. So you're kind of like, okay, well, that's fair enough then. Let's move on. Let's go on to the next play.
Judge, you as positive, or did you think it was a little bit, I don't know, to me, the first game particularly was pretty stop-start and not as much flow. Obviously, it's growing pains that you need to go through. But, I mean, with the case of trying to change things, it might not have been necessary in the first place. So just your thoughts on it?
I think the refs nailed it. I think it was great. And I think one of the big things that I didn't really see coming, but I realized quite quickly, and Cornflake touched on it, is that as fans and as viewers, we saw what was going on. So we could see, like normally there's a penalty in a ruck and you're like, yeah, I can't really see what's happening down there. It was quite simple. Man goes down, he makes an extra movement, that's a penalty. Man goes down, guy on the ball, penalty. So I think it's brilliant. I think what's going to happen is we'll see a lot more leg drives now because the guys have to stay up. The reason for the roll and everything is to just try and put the defensive side in an offside position. So they have to go in through the gate to get hands on. And when now, if there's a quick tackle, first man in goes on the ball. I mean, Damian McKenzie, he was in the top guys for steals, for turnovers this weekend. There were three guys on three. It was Papa Lee who came off the bench and Dylan Hunt and Damian McKenzie. They all got 3 turnovers this weekend. So I think it's great and I like it. And it will force the game to speed up. We'll see more leg drives because the guys need to get bodies in on them. Okay, that's the one thing. And if they no more with the leg drives, we'll see a lot more rips, which is actually also going to be interesting because that can go like any way. If you want to rip the ball out, like it could easily fall for anyone. So it's going to be quite interesting to see specifically how the Crusaders adapt to it because they are probably one of the best sides in terms of quick turnaround managing everything. But I was very happy with it, and it's about time. I don't know why we have to focus on the laws because the laws should have been focused on in the first place. But at least we're doing something about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, all these new law changes. No, it's the same laws, just being applied properly. But it's interesting you're saying about that leg drive thing. It's also then you've also got the opportunity of holding the player up. So more of that choke tackle / maul issue as well. If the player's not trying to if the guy's trying to not go down. So it's going to be interesting. What's going to be really confusing though is that Super Rugby AU are having a whole bunch of more variations and they're all different. So when that kicks in, it's just going to be an absolute disaster on social media as everyone goes, that's not this. Everyone's just going to lose it.
I don't think there are rule changes that can save them. That's going to be I don't know. They need something different. Maybe try and throw in a few league teams and make it a combination of the two formats. I think that's the only chance. Okay, gents, let's move on to the preview. I mean, you guys are on form, especially the two at the bottom here. So let's try and pick the games coming up. And firstly, I know just before we got on, Cornflake was saying that he thought this was quite strange that the bookies have the Chiefs are slight favourites. So I'm just going to throw this up here in terms of the teams. Yeah, guys, not a lot of changes. I was expecting hopefully something from the Chiefs in terms of some of the forwards returning. It's still, to me, their second string tied 5, which isn't ideal for them. I was hoping someone will come back, or at least Sam Kane in the Lucy's and his leadership to pick them up. But it's actually even a little bit less with Mitch Brown missing out now. So it's a little bit. It's a green tide 5, and that's something that worries me. And if you look towards the other side, there's a little bit more experience, and at least I'm expecting the Blues to be able to match them. And then the interesting part, I've actually heard a lot of division in terms of the loose trio there. It's all power, ball in hand. If you look at the Blues with Papa Ali, Ioane and Hoskins Sotuto. So I mean, they've got plenty of ball carriers there. And then, as I said last week, to me, the Chiefs were a little bit disappointing, especially in the trio. And then at the back, I mean, there's not a lot that you can say that's wrong with that Blues team. And to me, those wingers were absolutely on fire, and they looked great. So on paper, there's definitely it's tough saying that the Chiefs should be favourites in this one. Steve, maybe take us away in terms of your expectations for this game.
Yeah, no, I was very surprised to see that when I looked at the TAB here in New Zealand that the Chiefs are paying $1.64 to the Blues, $2.17. So I even the closeness of that is quite a wee way out to what I was even expecting it to be. But yeah, to me, the Blues, I've got them all over this game. The way that these teams make up, and we want to talk about the Chiefs. You've talked about no Kane, no Brown, and then Mitchell Brown's out as well. Yeah, very fresh with Vi and Akoi starting in that second row. I thought Akoi was amazing against the Highlanders in general play. Fantastic. Great around the park. But with Takiaho and how he was throwing those lineouts and it was all going a bit shambolic, no real leader in the lineout to direct things. It all kind of fell apart very quickly. And if they do that again, they're in a world of trouble against the Blues, who have got, some pretty handy guys, Tui Pluto and Goodhue in that second row against them as well. So, yeah, they've got to work on that. Big change, I thought, kind of really changes up their whole game plan as Cruden being in to start for Caleb Trask as well. So that's going to completely change the game and for them. But I think their bench looks quite interesting as well, especially a lot of criticism going on. Well, interesting, Milo Harris starting on the bench when Tahurirangi, or as Paul likes to call him, Triple T, not even when he is fit to play, and he's not even going to be in the 23 at all. But what I am pleased to see on the bench is Solomon Alemalo actually coming back to rugby again. He is a fantastic talent. He's a guy who can do something amazing. He's a guy that would be great at the Highlanders. There's a job for your Highlanders GM. Get him in there, a little bit of X factor. And we see Adam Thompson come back to New Zealand rugby again as well. So really interesting, but I'm struggling to see the match up that pack. I think that Blues pack's going to be all over it. That back row, you've talked about Akira Ioana, Papali'i, Sotutu. They are just huge guys, hard to stop, strong ball runners. And the way the game's played, the Chiefs are still working things out. They need massive, massive, massive performances from Jacobson, Boshier, and maybe Soa Cool was pretty good as well. But I think Jacobson and Boshier, those two guys, they need to step it up massively, massively, massively to get back into this game. But we do see Tony Lamborn back. Now, if you remember, back in normal Super Rugby, the ex-Southlander, he is back in the team for the Blues. Now, it's always good to see a big man doing chip and chases down the sideline, so I'm hoping to see a bit more of that from him this game here for the Blues. But yeah, for me, it's I didn't even struggle to pick this one when I was making my predictions for it and put out the written piece I did earlier in the week. It was Blues all day for me. That's a terrible thing to say as not a Blues fan, but yeah, they've got this one written easily in their name. I'm going Blues by far, even up to 11 points for mine. So just cream them. Chiefs, no chance.
Wow,
Jeepers. Okay, that's harsh. Yeah, Paul, I'm gonna pull you in here. I mean, it's there in your neck of the woods. It's home game for the Chiefs. They a heck of a tough to beat at home. So I don't know. It's obviously and we've seen so many times. These Blues, they look great on paper, but it's a different game on lawn.
It is. I saw something that's saying that Tanat Manga was playing for the Chiefs the last time the Chiefs lost to the Blues at home. Yeah, it's been a long time between drinks, but I'm going to be at the game this weekend, so I'll be live streaming on Facebook. By the way, folks, if you want to have from the stands, so if you want to have an update from the ground, then check out New Zealand Sports Radio Facebook page. But look, that bench, the only player with double digits caps for the Chiefs is Solomon Alamalo. Adam Thompson. Obviously, right, and Ross Glenn Hayes are obviously two very experienced players. But Adam Thompson, seriously, as a lock, as your lock replacement, they are in a world of trouble. They lost 4 lineouts last week. The Blues stole 5 off the Hurricanes. They're just not going to get any field position because they're just going to lose all their lineouts. And I think from there, it's going to be all over for them. They've just lost too many locks. It doesn't help that Tyler Ardron has signed for a French club, so he's gone already. So even if he does he's definitely not coming back for them. It's difficult to see. The Chiefs have just got to get the ball wide. They've got to get it away from the breakdown. Use those backs. That's where they were strongest at the weekend against the Highlanders. Get it wide into Sean Wainui and Sean Stevenson's hands. Both guys playing pretty good at the moment. Quinn Tapia, also a good guy with ball in hand running. So get it into those backs, get it out wide, quick, and just see what they can do. We've seen the Blues, those wingers, very good attacking, but there's still going to be some question marks around Caleb Clark's and Mark Talia's defence, I think. Definitely, and especially Rico Wani in that 13 channel. Yes, he's played 13 all the way through school grade, age grade rugby. The only wing he's played has been at Super Rugby and International. He is a 13 converted to wing. So he should be okay in that 13 channel. But there's got to be an opportunity there for where they've got to attack because they know that, Kiriwani, Hoskins to Tutu, they're just going to keep trundling it up. And it's going to be fantastic because Kiriwani knows he's only got this place while Dylan Hunt and Tom Robinson are injured. As soon as they come back, he loses his place unless he can carry better than Sasutu in this game. So it really is those two. Which of those two carries better could potentially be in the 8 jersey next week or out the whole 23.
Sean, I'm a little bit surprised by the love for the Blues here at the moment. Are you also in agreement there, or do you think Gatlin's not going to take 2 on the trot?
I do think we're going to see something from the Chiefs. I feel that the concern is in the lock, in the tight 5 as well. They've got 2 really, really young guys locking down, and it can go either way with youngsters. If they both do well and can stay injury free the whole game, then they're sorted at 4 and 5. But then they need the support from the loose trio as well. So it's going to be very interesting how that gets sorted. I think we spoke briefly. I mentioned briefly last week in terms of how important the 9 was in the opening game with Webb and everything. I still think Webb is incredible, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he works with Aaron Cruden, and they will definitely change things up there.
He was Sean. I don't know if you agree. I think Weber was off his game last week. To me, he had a pretty poor game. I mean, that one forced pass in the 22 when they just won the turnover, giving it away, and another one down the blind side which he knocked on. It was just I don't know whether it was the leadership, but to me it was a pretty subpar performance from Weber, and I'm hoping he's really going to step up this week.
Yeah, I must be honest. I didn't have a massive, I didn't sit down and properly watch the game on Saturday. I was a little bit distracted with a few other things, so I got bits and pieces. He wasn't great, but I thought that he did add quite a bit of value in a lot of places. But I think he's going to settle. He'll settle down this week and be in a better space, especially with Cruden on the outside. But I think the locks and the loosies are really key. And I think I think Anton Leonard-Brown and Quinn Tupoea are going to be pretty handy, but I think Leonard-Brown is going to be key. Him and Cruden together. I think Quinn is quite inexperienced, and I think that's going to help. He's talented. He's flipping incredible, but I think it's going to help the Blues a little bit. So my thing is listen, Brian Abana was a 13 at school the whole way, and we all saw how that worked out at 13 for the Springboks. So I really feel that that Rico Ioane is not the best option at 13. He is an incredible winger and an incredible finisher. And I will say one thing, it is very difficult to drop any of the current wingers. So I think it's more a case of we have to put Rico Ioane in. He missed five tackles on the weekend, and TJ Faiani, who I was very surprised, missed 4. So they missed 9 tackles in the midfield. And I mean, they still won comfortably, and that's not going to happen against Aaron Cruden and Anton Leonard-Brown. And if Quinn Tupoea gets it in the mix, he's going to also rip the guys apart, and that ball will go wide. So I think with Damian McKenzie coming in second phase, or even straight in on first phase, coming in the tighter channels, is really going to, or even outside, because we all know that he's going to draw two guys. I think that's going to be huge, and I'm not completely sold. I know it's injuries. I'm not completely sold about the loose trio and the Blues. They are massive ball carriers, and I'm a big fan of Dalton Papali'i. So I'm just a bit questionable about Akira Ioane. I don't quite know if he does put big performances in, but where he wins on the swings, he loses on the roundabouts in certain plays in the game. And I think the lock pairing for the Blues are huge. Patrick Tuipulotu was massive last week. So that's where I think they're going to target again. And once they get sorted there, I think they're going to be in a good space. Tara Black's in great form. Sam Knock had a pretty good game after we weren't happy with the fact that he was even in the squad, let alone starting. So I think that's going to be quite interesting. But I'd really like to see Joe Marchant get another look in. I don't believe he's gone home because I know he's still there, and I don't think he's injured. Sorry?
He's just dropped.
Yeah. So I'd really like to see him get a little look in somewhere, But I agree in what you said, where Beauden Barrett's the best option they've got at 15 now, and then that dictates everything else that happens almost in terms of the side, and they're kind of forced into it. I think Duffy was okay, but he's come off some bad form, so he still has another 2-3 games of 15, maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes to try and then prove that he's good enough to start, and then they can start moving guys around. But right now, you're not dropping a Tara Black, and you're not dropping Beauden Barrett. So Dan Carter's going to be carrying water for a while, I think.
I think I'm not sure Dan Carter will even. He'll get a couple of bench places to when they want to rest either a Terry Black or Beauden Barrett. But he's not going to be. But you're right. That is a very unbalanced back row for the Blues against a side that's got 2 guys who really have. Jacobson and Boschier. That is work rate. So Papali'i's got a big job in his hands, and he's going to need some help.
And Akira is always, he's great with ball in the hand going forward, but it's, you can always see a lot about the guy's attitude when it's on defense and going back and having to put, he's like almost in football, one of those strikers who's great in front of goal, but he just never goes back to do any other work. So to me, that's like a little bit of an issue. And again, the Blues have this knack of just falling back to a little bit of ill discipline, and he's almost one of those guys who seems to kind of lead it. So hopefully, not hopefully for me, I'm going for the Chiefs, but it could be a problem for them, a potential banana peel there. And the other thing is, Knock was good at 9, but I still thought some of those box kicks where they relied on him a lot to do the exit plays, which was a little bit strange given that you've got Bowden and Aotearoa there. And, I think there was definitely one try from the Hurricanes, which came from just a way too short kick and just giving them the ball back. So hopefully, giving that to Damian McKenzie could be a bit of could spell some trouble there. If it's, I don't know if you guys want to add something else on that game, or whether we can move to the big boys.
Well, the only other thing is that, look, it's going to be difficult for the fans, really, of the Blues, because if you look at the photos of the players and look at how the players are looking now with all their hair dyes, they're two different teams. Trying to recognise them is a nightmare, absolutely, from their photos. They look nothing like, absolutely nothing like. But anyway, that's another matter.
I think if you're going to sum this... Oh, sorry.
No, jump in. I
was just going to say, if you sum this game up, I think it's going to come down to how the inexperienced players pretty much rely on their own demeanour to get the job done. How much they rely on the players around them is going to depend on how they can do their own job. I'm looking at that second row we've talked about so a lot, but I think the likes of the Bouchers and Jacobsons were trying to help those guys out, trying to cover their work, just because they're new, they're young, they're fresh, and they couldn't probably do their job well enough, which we've seen how good they are. And they were, I think, missing quite considerably against the Highlanders. And they need to be fully focused because, they're going to be quick. They're going to be the first guys to that breakdown, but they're going to have their hands full when they're on defense because, they're going to have those three big guys just charging at them all the time. So it's going to be a case of the Blues wanting to keep Jacobson and Boucher on the ground in breakdowns as tacklers as much as they can and keeping them off their feet effectively and swings and roundabouts around the other way when the Blues are on defence. How are they going to get, like you say, I couldn't agree more with your comment about how Akira Ioane is great with ball in hand, great on attack, he's ever present, but when the ball's on the other team's hands, he's gone. He's nowhere to be seen. I find it hard to see he's going to really trouble the breakdown too much, which is going to fall a lot to Papali'i to do that job in the 7. So it's going to be interesting. That back row, it's so crucial. It's so crucial. It's going to decide every match this season, I think, the way it's going.
But also, that first 15 for the Chiefs have got to do it. They can't rely on their bench.
Oh, yeah.
If they're behind going to the last quarter, ouch.
Yep.
The only good thing for the Chiefs is if they do win, at least Ross Geldenhuys and Adam Thompson can teach them a few songs because I'm sure they've got a few in the bag.
I think I wouldn't be surprised. Akira Ioane knows that this is almost his time. This is it almost. Like that might be a little bit dramatic, but I mean he really needs to put his hand up. So. I agree. It's unbalanced. The Lucia, for me, is unbalanced, but that's not going to change. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a pretty decent performance from Ioane. I mean, we know he's going to deliver with ball in hand, but I'm very interested to see how he stands up with his discipline on defense and how he manages that. But yeah, I think we'll know pretty early though. I think like first 20 minutes we'll know.
And apparently, everyone's saying he's quite fit and looking keen. So it's going to be interesting. Listen, straight on to the Crusaders. To me, the big thing here is, everyone will talk about the back line and CV Reese and all that. But from the New Zealand teams, if I look at this tight five, it's head and shoulders the best, having Joe Moody, Cody Taylor, and Aloha Toa there. That's just solid. Sam Whitelock coming in. I mean, I don't know. That's just experience you can't buy, and to me that just screams solid platform. Look at the opponents, and I mean the Hurricanes have been known for not being the most solid in their pack of forwards, and it's not changing anytime soon. Via Fafita is probably a good inclusion there, and obviously Duplessis and Ardie Sevilla are good in the loose trio, but to me the foundation is going to be laid by the Crusaders there, and it's going to be a tough old day for the Hurricanes to try and match them. And as you guys said, the lineout was poor last week as well. And if you can't get that right against the Crusaders, you're really going to be struggling to play catch up there. Steve, maybe let's start you off there. What you expect from this game, and maybe also touch on the impact that people think the fact could have that the Crusaders haven't had a run out yet, and the new laws and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's going to be huge. So I've got two big points about the Crusaders. When you look at this Crusaders team, you're right. You mentioned it. They're so star-studded, and they've got great players everywhere, All Blacks and experience and all that sort of thing. But two big things when I look at this team and I say, how is a team going to beat them? The new rules, you're right. How are they going to adapt? They've played it into squad friendly, but they've been watching. They're watching. They're well coached, and I expect they are such a professional outfit that they will be fairly on song. Now, when I looked at this match earlier in the week, I said there's going to be one way that the Hurricanes can win this game, and that's going to be to blitz them in the first 30 minutes, 20 minutes. They've got to go out and they've got to hammer the points on straight away while the Crusaders adapt, while they learn, while they get into the game. They've got to be the prepared team. They've got to go straight on like they've not stopped and just score points, as many as they can, because you wait by this 60th minute of this game, the Crusaders, they'll know, if not before, they'll have adapted and they will be just the machine that everyone would expect them to be. So that's what I think the Hurricanes need to do to try and get into this game. If it's tight at halftime, I expect it won't be at full time to this Crusaders outfit. The big question mark I've got about them, though, is I feel like a broken down record going on about this, but their back row. I mean, this is where they look vulnerable when they have Cullen Grace, 20-year-old, 6 games with the Crusaders, and Billy Harmon, a bit older, 25. They still only played 8 games for the Crusaders. That's an area I think that the Hurricanes, have been a bit smart. There's not much they can do with the changes they have made, but they've effectively gone with 4 back rows, haven't they? By putting Vaifafita in there, try and put a bit more pressure on that fresh and young-looking back row of the Crusaders. So when you're running in there to read Princep Dupsy, Karifi, Adi Savia, and Vaifafita, up against effectively a lot of pressure going to be here on Fitu Douglas to lead these young guys around the field, that is one area I think that they'll have to target. There's nowhere else I can feel that the Hurricanes can target. They're going to lose the Type 5 battle. They're going to lose the rest of the team. I am interested in the midfield battle because I think Aso and Laumape will be pretty disappointed. I think that they couldn't really assert themselves physically or dominantly in that game against the Blues. So the big pressure, I think, on Brad Nenor, see if he's really up to the task of higher honours in a black jersey. And, of course, we know what we're going to get from Jack Goodhue as well. But the Crusaders' backline is going to be clinical. They'll adapt. And, give them 40, 50 minutes. And if the Hurricanes don't have a big lead to fall back on, I feel it could be a bit nasty. But, that back row, that's where they've got to go. Know the rules and hit them there straight away. Bang.
Paul, Steve jumped the gun on me there. I was going to actually ask you on Callum Grace and Billy Harmon. It's not players that I know a heck of a lot about, and it's such a strange turnaround, seeing a Crusaders team, now even Todd isn't there and those kind of guys, and having Wetu Douglas, I see he's one of the vice captains even, and to me he's almost still new to the team. So it does seem like a little bit of a area that someone could target.
It is, but it is and it isn't, right? Because everyone has been saying, hey, it's an area we can target, let's get them there. And all season, pre-lockdown, and they've had no problems whatsoever. So, look, we're talking ex-under-20s captains here for New Zealand. We're not we're talking good players. We're just talking players we just don't know because they've been behind people or they're new. So, and they've got Ethan Blackadder to come off the bench, who also has been who was good last season, has kind of been injured beginning of this season. So you look at, I know that's where people will look, but I think you're clutching at straws if you're trying to go there. I would be thinking more along that Enor, Bridge, Reece, Will Jordan, that back area. Go at them. We know what Reece is like on attack, but we also know he can lead with the shoulder on defense rather than actually wrapping his arm. So he can be occasionally. I'm going to clutch some too. So I would. That's where I would be looking at the Crusaders is against that relatively inexperienced back crowd there, and not the biggest guy. I love him as a player. Fantastic ball in hand, fast, but. If you can get some of the bigger guys down his channel, again, Bridge, Reece, not big guys. So if you can get Ben Lamb at them at pace, if you can get Corbus Van Wyk when he comes on, another big guy at pace. Laumape likes to roam out wide. So get those big guys against those little guys. and see how you can do it. Fafita again, another guy who likes to run out wide, has got pace. That's where I think that's what I would be looking at attacking the Crusaders if I was the Hurricanes. Concerns for the Hurricanes: Ardie Surveyor is not fit, put bluntly. Right, he's just not had enough game time back. And then Fafita, I like Fafita as a 6. He's lightweight as a 5. So yeah, at scrum time, get the ball in, get it out. Even though with Lomax and Coles, I mean, I know we're all kind of knocking on that type 5, but Lomax is a good prop. Dane Coles, all black hooker. So look, they're perhaps not as bad as we want to say. Again, though, if Garden Bishop goes down, there's no replacement apart from TJ Perinara. And TJ, shut the up, okay? Stop talking to the referee, right? You've been overdoing it this season. You've been getting yourself in trouble. Shut up and play, because you're upsetting the ref at the moment. I love TJ as a player. I don't really see him as a 10 though.
Well, I must say, Sean, I don't know, at times they must have been wishing that they didn't have Gordon Bishop at 10 either, but it sounds like they don't have much of an option there. So, Judge, just there, DrivingMaul says, if I can take away there, what I thought he said was, if CB Reese gets a yellow or red card, then the Hurricanes have got a chance, otherwise they're buggered. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it is quite interesting. I think the balance, if you look at their players, like where they've got Coles, Fafita, and that loose trio, like Karifi and Severe, like they're all ball players, and a couple of them, and notably the tight 5 that I mentioned, like to play out wide. So who is going to be doing the graft? You know, like someone's got to be working flipping hard, and that's going to be like Lomax, Armstrong, and Blackwell are going to be flipping, like, are they? I don't really know, you know. So that's the thing. I think Fafita is great to have back there. I'm concerned. Dan Coles historically has been iffy and butty at the lineouts. So, like, you know, he blows hot and cold. Like, he's not going to hit 90% of his jumpers consistently. And I think, you know, he'll definitely have been working pretty hard on that. But swings and roundabouts, you know, he's going to score that one to try down the wing. We know that's going to happen. He's going to burn someone on the outside, and he's going to pop inside to Fafita, and then the guys are going to look at that and think, yes, Severis is going to go, I have to shoulder charge someone in the throat, because that's the only way I'm going to stop them. So yeah, that's going to be quite interesting. I think really interested to see the 12-13 for both sides, because the Hurricanes are like hard, abrasive, like badass runners, and the Crusaders are good ball players. And I wasn't a massive fan of Eno at 13. I didn't think that was probably his best position, because he had such a good showing on the wing. But I think the Goodhue Eno is very handy, but I think sometimes they don't always gel as soon as we expect them to. And we're so used to seeing the Crusaders gel, especially in the midfield. I mean, they've had like Crotty there forever, and he holds it together nicely, and what's going on. But I think with the guys out there, with Jack Goodhue, when he moves around, I feel that there's a problem. Like if he's at 13 and has to move to 12 or something, so now he's starting and he is where he is, and I think that's pretty good. I think a bum not to see Havili start, but I believe that he's come off an injury, so that's why he's on the bench. And yeah, I think the Scott Barrett missing out to a foot injury is massive for the Crusaders, but then they get Sam Whitelock back, and you're like, oh, okay, whew, you know, like we've got that going. And then I just think the balance in terms of the experience with the Locks and the Lucies is going to be key, where you've got Whitelock and Wade to Douglas. Those are the only two experienced guys out of that back 5. And then you're thinking, how is it going to manage? Like, who's going to sort what out? And then you've got Bryn Hall and then Drummond coming on at 9. So you've got a good, calm, level head at 9, regardless, to help the guys out once they're moving around. So it is going to be interesting, but I think the guys are going to be good enough. And the thing about the Crusaders and most of the Kiwi sides is when they have young guys in, especially in the pack, is they have a specific role and the guys don't ever venture out from it. They're literally like, you hunt the ball and you second man or first man at the ruck, and they literally do that day in and day out, and they get the basics right, which sets a platform for everyone else.
And don't forget, the thing with these Crusaders is that they have been in the environment or around that situation for so long as well. So you talk about Billy Harmer, he's been there for about 3 years or so. Only picked up a handful of caps, but he's been in that environment. He knows the team. He's trained with them for so long. He knows the players. He knows everything about it. So he kind of has already done half the job of learning everything about the team and how they play. And don't forget, we talk about teams like the Chiefs that are in dire straits or a hospital of second rowers. They've got Luke Romano, who's going to be coming off the bench here later on as well. I mean, how is he not starting? It's just crazy. He's a fantastic player to come off the bench that is just so experienced and so good.
Insane.
That you'll notice nothing. You'll just be straight swap, bang, and you just got all that experience still there. There's no weakness.
Well, Luke Romano is probably one of the most underrated players.
Luke Romano didn't start a game for the Crusaders last season.
No.
He only came off the bench.
How? It's insane.
Well,
How?
But it's great, isn't it? If you're an older guy, which he is. I mean, obviously he's still 10 years, 15 years younger than I am. But as an older player, you've only got to play half an hour each week. It's got to be a fantastic environment, hasn't it? Why hasn't he gone overseas? Well, because he knows he can play 2 extra seasons here, because he's not going to get beaten up. It's a great setup for him.
I don't think anyone can beat Luke Romano up in any case. He's just he does the beating up. There's no two ways about it. Listen, just finally, my point from this, I must say, I think I'm probably a little bit controversial. I think Dane Coles' best rugby is behind him at this stage, and he's a little bit more of a bully and a prankster running around. So I don't think he does his basics as well as he should anymore. He gets, typical of those guys who come on later and gets a bit more nippy and doesn't care so much about the hard yards. So that's a little bit of a concern. As we said, Ardie Sevilla probably not quite operating at his optimal yet. To me, that centre pair is a little bit like a year 2000 kind of form team. They've chopped off a little bit. And I mean, that rush of also was horrendous against the Blues when they let in that try. It was a poor read. So yeah, to me there's some problems. Wes Goosen, decent, but he's not a world class winger. I don't think Talia at fullback, he's got his or whatever his name, he's got his up and downs. He can do some magic, but to me he's not as steady. They really need Geordie back there at 15, I think. So to me there are a few too many questions, and the only thing, the Crusaders, I mean, obviously it's not that same imperious team that no one can touch. And, Goody, who's been moved around 12 and 13, he hasn't really proven that he's a world-class 12 like Crotty was. So it's something he needs to do. Eno as well, moving wing and center. So that's, as Sean said as well, something that needs to settle. You guys have mentioned that Sivo maybe not as good on defense or as good under high ball or going back or things like that. So we still got to sort that out. But he's having quality like Will Jordan to just settle in there as a backup basically is. I mean, that's what makes the Crusaders great. Firing Anaku on the bench, he's probably going to struggle getting proper game time, and he's still a quality finish. We saw that one run in the first part of Super Rugby where he just didn't want to go down. It's some crazy talent. So now I'm sticking to my play. But let's go to your picks for the weekend, gents. Both games there. I think you can just call them one after the other.
One more straw to clutch at. If Richie Mo'unga pulls a hammy, you've got David Havili coming off the bench as your fly half. So again, early injury to Richie Mo'unga. That might be what the Hurricanes need.
And he's still a better player than Garner Bishop.
Well, yeah.
There we go. Okay, Paul, let's start from the top and go down and do your predictions for the weekend.
I've gone Blues by 3 and Crusaders by 3.
Oh, geez, that's a bit close.
Only 3.
I've got a little bit bigger. Go on the double ones for the Blues for me. Blues by 11. I think they're going to get a little bit too much around their pack against the Chiefs. And on the other side of things, now I've talked about it a bit more. I think I've gone a bit close, but I've gone Crusaders by 4 up against the Canes.
Judge?
I think the Chiefs are going to take this. I think it's going to be tight. I think the Chiefs by 3, and I think I really do think the Crusaders are going to. I think the Crusaders will get back into their form again a little bit quicker than like what we've seen in the past. The Crusaders by 5.
Cheapers, guys, on that front, I'm losing a heck of a lot of money if you guys are right, because I'm Crusaders are beating a 6.5 point handicap, so that's pretty much my play of the entire weekend. So it could be a very desperate Sunday afternoon for me. Sean, I'm probably going to start drinking at 8 in that case. But either way, I'm expecting the Crusaders to really unleash, especially as we've all said in that second half. I'm hoping they really catch fire and put the guys away, and then obviously in the first game, I'm still going to edge the Chiefs there, and I'm hoping for good old Adam Thompson to come off the bench and score the last try for a nice payout. Cheers, gents. Thanks so much for joining me, and yeah, congratulations on New Zealand leading the way. I think it was a fantastic first round, by the way. Great seeing the crowds. Nothing wrong with the rules implementation and that kind of thing, and it was just an awesome watch, I think, from our side and from everyone's side. So it was fantastic having Raga back.
Yeah, we're looking at big crowds again this weekend. So 20k plus easy at down here in Hamilton, which only holds 25k. Wellington, poor weather apparently is holding things back. So again, a 20k plus. They were hoping for 30k plus, but we'll weather looks like that's going to restrict a little bit of the crowd there down in the second game.
Cheers, gents. Have a good one and enjoy week 2.
Thank you again, gentlemen. Have a good one. Good luck.
Oh, I missed